Hello, 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 and welcome back to my 30-day career live stream series where I'll be talking about some very interesting career topics that you may come across on social media or some of these career questions that you have had in mind for a very long time. So if you are new here, hi, my name is Mei Ping. I'm a professional career coach and former corporate leader working with big multinational companies in the corporate world. And nowadays, as a career coach, I help 9 to 5 professionals to get confident and visible in the corporate world. So today's topic is really inspired by yesterday's live stream, actually, where I shared three client success stories. And these were the three clients who have worked with me since last year for almost a year. And they have all gradually progressed in their career from making a huge career change and being headhunted with interesting opportunities or getting promoted during this period of time. So after sharing those client success stories yesterday's live stream, I actually received multiple DMs earlier today asking me a little bit more details on the clients whom I've worked with. But one specific theme popped up from these multiple DMs that I received, and it's all about, hey, Miping, very inspiring stories, happy for your clients. However, instead of like going through the whole process that you talked about, can you teach me the shortcut? What is just the one thing that I can do? Or, okay, if I choose to work with you, right, can I just do this part and I don't want to do this part? I want to do this, I don't want to do that. And why I thought it was very interesting is because I think when we listen to someone else's success, a lot of times we feel very motivated, we feel very inspired, and we feel like, hey, I think we can do it for ourselves too. However, there is that one part of us that always also feels like, hey, kind of feels like hard work. And what if I can shorten the process? What if I can find a shortcut? What if I can work smarter? Now, I think this is actually quite a common feeling. And I think that in an era of instant gratification nowadays, it's even more prevalent than ever to want to get very fast, immediate results and maybe not even putting the level of hard work or wanting to follow the process and actually wanting to skip the process because you feel like, well, why want to spend this much time to do something if I can have the shortcut, I can get some sort of like magic hack, magic trick that I can do within a shorter period of time. So, um, if you are new to me and are very new to my content, there is one thing about me that you should know, and the approach in which I have approached personally in my own career. And what I also teach my clients and students now in my online program, the Corporate Survivor, it's all about we need to be strategic, planning your career for long term success. And to be able to do that, to be able to build solid foundations for your career in the long term, is actually really, really important for you to learn the actual step by steps in the right framework so that you are not going to you're not going to hop from like one job to the other, right? You are not failing at the same yes, failing with the same root cause problem at every single job, making you want to jump around, creating the same frustration that you encounter at every single job. And to be able to do that, you need to see your career as a journey. So, how old are you right now? How many years have you been working? And how many years do you think you will still be working? Now, these are very important questions to ask yourself because it is very easy to want to think about the shortcuts and feel like, yeah, I'm just going to like try to do everything quickly. I want to get immediate results and all those things. And I completely understand, especially in the era of social media right now. If you just go on like Instagram, TikTok, and even nowadays on LinkedIn, there are so many magic hacks saying that if you just do this one thing, do that one thing, you can completely blow up your own career, your whole career. Maybe you can blow up, but like maybe blowing up in a negative way. I think just be careful. But I think my point here, and it's something that I've truly always believed in, is think about your career as an overall journey. And if you think about your career as an overall journey, and if you are someone who has only worked for 5 years, now that career journey may look like another 15, 20, if not 25 years. If you are somebody who has been working for 15 years, maybe that career journey may look like another 5, 10, maybe 15 years, right? So the idea of like wanting everything fast, wanting to get results fast, wanting to get promoted fast, wanting to get the money fast, it's an admirable characteristic. I think that's actually what makes you very ambitious and being a go-getter, and I think that's really important. But you also want to make sure that in the process of rushing to the top, like rushing to the top of the career ladder, you are not compromising your integrity, you are not compromising your quality, and you are also not compromising your reputation. And how are you going to keep all these three? Your integrity, your quality, and your reputation. And all of it, actually, the foundation is a very strong skill set. I'm sorry, there's no other fancier words I can say this because realistically speaking, if you want to have a long-term career, you want to be respected in your field, you want to be seen as an expert, you want to see as someone who is valuable, who can command way more money in the future, it's so important that you can show the level of maturity, the level of expertise, and the value that you can bring for long-term success. Now, why I say this is so important is that imagine if you smoked your way through, and yes, you landed a really fancy job with a fancy job title with a good pay. Now think about it. What will happen if you go into a fancy job, you make a lot of promises because a lot of fancy personal branding, you said some things that were over promises, but when you go into the job, can't actually do the work, then pretty much what's going to blow up is your entire career, right? So really think about it, because I have actually met clients like this, and I have worked with similar clients like these as well. And I can share with you a very quick story of a client that worked with me, that the first thing I had to work with her was actually overhauling the mindset. So I'm just gonna give you guys a bit of a background so you can understand how your career can actually blow up if you are thinking about fast. You want to do something fast, get promoted fast, make more money fast, get that reputation, over promising to, create a nice brand for yourself without the actual substance is actually very dangerous. Now, when I first started as a career coach, that was when I left the corporate world and everything else. One of the first few clients that I worked with was actually a top performer in her field. Now, she is very my this particular client is actually really good with as a communicator, and she's pretty good in what she does. And the challenge that was created from that was that she became overconfident, and she actually kind of got promoted very quickly. So within about 5 years of working, she actually got promoted to the position of senior manager at a global multinational company. Now that's a pretty big position for somebody who didn't actually have the right mentality to operate as a senior manager. So what happened was she thought she was doing fine. It was actually a completely new job, so she thought she was doing fine. And 4 months into her probation, her new boss came to her and said, "Hey, I think we're not going to confirm you because you have not been adding any value." Um, During the probation period. And second thing is that the quality of your work is very careless. You're making a lot of careless mistakes. And these were things that I thought you wouldn't have these problems because you are in a pretty senior position, right? Like these are the problems that I expect from a junior staff, and I don't expect my senior manager to behave like this. Now, that was the exact feedback that the head of department or her boss gave her at that time. And when she first approached me, first her ego was highly affected, and the second thing was that she actually did not realize that she had so many skills gap in terms of her foundation. So what she told me was that, well, I kind of knew I had this problem, but in all my previous jobs and in my previous careers, I've always had bosses, I've always had team members who covered for me. So I thought, like, why bother fixing all these skills gap, because like someone's gonna fix my problems anyway. So it actually started from a very entitled mindset, or rather a mindset of thinking that she could get away with everything. And that is the one that created the problem of, hey, guess what? Somebody caught her lie in the end. Somebody actually noticed that she was not as good as she thought she was. Somebody noticed that she was trying to find shortcuts, and that affected the work and that affected her reputation. So it was pretty bad when she came to me 4 months into her probation period out of her 6 months probation. Basically, her boss told her that, yeah, I don't think we're going to confirm you because, this quality is unacceptable. too many mistakes, especially for somebody at at a senior manager level, is almost unacceptable. So when I first worked with her, was the first two sessions I'd say is like pure mindset sessions, because she had a very incorrect understanding of like what it actually takes to succeed in the corporate world. She was actually very caught up with a lot of the personal branding stuff of like, hey, you just need to talk really well, you just need to present really well, and just say that you can do everything. And if you can't fix this thing, just pass it on to someone else. But guess what? This boss that she worked with, this new boss, was actually really smart. This new boss caught her lie very quickly and thought that, okay, like she's not actually doing a good job. We're not going to deal with her anymore. So, like I said, first few sessions is really, washing out the incorrect concepts that she has been taught, or rather what she believed in, and really helping her see how her career is actually a journey and not something that she actually needs to rush to. Because think about it, at 5 years senior manager, like if you're going to rush to a senior manager position in 5 years and then completely destroy the next 20 years, now that's a very dangerous game to play. Would you agree? So helping her see the entire career journey, kind of where she was. Right. So there's actually one thing that I actually teach in my online course, and that is something what I call the career ladder. So it's actually all about how, starting from a fresh graduate, then moving on to executive level, what exactly do you need to master as an executive? Which is, I can tell you right now, it's if you're an executive, you need to focus on experience and exposure, right? Developing expertise, no, it's actually expertise and exposure. Developing actual real expertise, and these are the technical and soft skills, people skills that are actually needed to do a job well done, because you are there to ensure the quality of the work that you do is like top notch. Then the other thing that you need to focus on at an executive level is getting more exposure, right? There'll be more, maybe that means that more people, different projects, different industries, and so forth. So what this client did very well as an executive was that she was very great at getting exposure. She made a lot of friends. She networked a lot. She got on multiple different projects that got her face seen by a lot of people. That was great. But one thing that she actually neglected was expertise. She had some, but basically she hasn't mastered any of them. But because she was so great at getting exposure, right, she was able to cover the skills gap, at least at that point, and got promoted to a manager. Now, once you're up that career ladder, and it's actually something that I cover a little bit more in my course, but anyway, after executive, the next level you're going to be is a manager. Now, as a manager, there are two things that you need to care about. And the first thing is people, learning how to manage people. And the second thing is how to deal with processes. Now, this P and P, P and P. So for this particular client, when she became a manager, the problem actually became bigger, but she did not realize it early on. So why I say it became bigger was that the first thing, remember I said people and process, right? So people, she was actually not very, while she was very good at networking, she actually had very limited understanding about her own personality. And one of the most important things that I teach in my course, the Corporate Survivor Phase 1, we actually go into understanding your personality, not just your personality, but the people around you, the people who work with you, and the dynamic between the two. So because she lacked quite a lot of understanding about her own personality, that actually had what happened from that situation was she was unable to harness her strengths. She was also unable to fix her weaknesses. Now, your weaknesses, if you do not fix them, is going to be a big problem in your career, and that thing is going to snowball. It's not going to get better. It's just going to get worse. So for her, she was a person who is a bit of a procrastinator. She is a very unstructured. She is disorganized, and she is too flexible. Now, all these things sound pretty fun whether you're an executive, because you are not exactly responsible for a lot of things, or you're not that accountable anyway because you're just an executive. Now, as a manager, it's actually very different, because as a manager, you need to do all these things well. You need to do your job well. You need to make sure your team does their job well. You need to make sure your stakeholders fulfill all their promises. And to be able to do that, you first need to understand how you operate, personality wise, how your team operates, how all the stakeholders operate in terms of like working habits, the dynamics between all of these, and knowing your own personality, your own skills gap, and fix them so that you can actually ensure alignment between all these people. Now, this is what I call managing expectations, but to actually break it down further is exactly what I just said. So because she was actually very weak in terms of understanding herself and she had a multiple skills gap, that process was a bit of a chaos. Then remember what I said, the two things when you need as a manager, aside from people, you also need process. And remember what I said about this client's personality and skills gap. She's very unstructured, she's very disorganized, and she does things on a very ad hoc, like spontaneous basis. Now, that actually completely blew up when she became a manager, was because in order to make sure that everything is done consistently, delivered on time, top quality, top notch, you need a process. No matter how boring that thing sounds, like, it's the process that makes the magic at work, right? It's the process that makes the magic at work. So for her, that problem was that, like I said, she didn't have a process of like doing things. So that was actually a huge, huge problem. At the, like I said, for the first two sessions, I worked with her like one-on-one, that was like purely mindset. But from third session onwards, I basically told her that if you do not fix this skills gap, you are going to be in like deep trouble, because like none of your work is going to get done, and your boss is already really angry with you, and obviously not a good thing. So from session 3 onwards, I basically had to help her put in a lot more structure in her daily work, how to make promises at work, and how to run meetings so she can get results, and basically how to organize her day, how to organize her workload around her day, all these things, like how to clear emails in the most efficient way so she doesn't get distracted. Like all these things I was teaching her. This was basically one of her early clients who worked with me in 2020. So I realized that, okay, unfortunately, a lot of people, even at the managerial level, are facing these problems, which is a really huge issue. And after going through all of that, at the end of the day, her manager was like significantly happier with her. And of course, I also taught her how to have like one-on-ones with with her manager, and try to like manage expectations and all those things. It kind of took a bit of a journey, but eventually she got there. Their relationship significantly improved, and she's pretty happy working with him for over a period of time. But since then, she has really moved on to a much bigger company as well. So back to the point of the difference between just being an executive versus being a manager. And obviously, for her level, manager, it was really big chaos. And even layer, if you layer in like senior manager, as senior manager, you actually need to focus on strategy and systems. So adding on the additional layer actually created even more complexity beyond the mess that she was already facing. So that was the part that I actually helped her based on my own experience in senior leadership and senior director in the corporate world. So basically, this client I worked with for quite some time. There were multiple layers involved, but what didn't actually change was the fact that your career is a journey, your career is a marathon, not a sprint. So if you want to do things fast and you skip the steps, then what is the problem is then you just like don't get stuff well done, right? It's a mess, and eventually what happened is damage in reputation. Now, damage in reputation is not one of those things, right? If you're an intern or you're working in a part-time job, or you're in university, or you're in school, it's okay. But in the corporate world, when you are actually out there working, it's really not not the it's really not the easiest thing to remedy, because what you need to realize is that a lot of people that you work with, whether it's your boss, your manager, your team members, and so forth, like people kind of like move around in the industry. So if your reputation or your name is damaged in that industry, it becomes like a bit of a talking point. Because a lot of times, like if hiring managers, when they're hiring someone and they happen to know somebody else who potentially know this candidate, sometimes they pick up the phone, they call, they try to validate, and all these other problems. So I think you just want to be very cautious and always plan your career for long-term success. And I think a lot of the clients that I actually work with in 2020 and 2021, actually a lot of their problems and issues actually inspired me to actually come up with a more structured framework, or rather structured step-by-step process, to actually teach a lot of my students in my program right now, the Corporate Survivor, at www.thecorporatesurvivor.co. A lot of it actually was like the stories, or rather the problems that I've worked on with my clients, in a one-on-one capacity, over the last 2 years or so, and really kind of bringing together all the knowledge and seeing how similar issues were actually faced by different clients, like even different ages as well. My clients are not just in like their 20s and 30s. I have also have like clients in my 40s and 50s. So like from literally junior executive, fresh graduates, all the way. I have clients who are like general managers, like director level, senior managers and so forth. Like, you know, a lot of times the issues are very similar. But what's very important is to recognize where you are on the career journey and make sure that you master what it takes to move up every single career step, right? From fresh graduate to executive level to manager, then director level, and then C-suite, so they can truly leverage off one level. So it's like you need to check off one level first and then move on to the next level, not go there and then like, fingers crossed, pray for the best, because most of the time it doesn't always work, right? So I hope that, you guys actually think a little bit further and rather, instead of like the standard instant gratification that you all feel, and really think a little bit further on how your career is a journey, your career is a marathon, and like, is there a need to really rush to nowhere fast, right? So just really, really think about it. And I think for those of you who have been like messaging me for shortcuts, I highly discourage you guys from, taking any shortcuts. I think it's much better to really ask yourself, how much do you actually want to succeed in your career? And for me, I specialize in working with people in the 9 to 5 corporate world. As long as you're in a structured organization, you're a fresh graduate or somebody all the way preparing for C-suite, these are clients that I work with, and these are also students who sign up to my program. So I highly suggest that if your career is really important to you, learn the right thing, because it really pays dividends down the road. All this skipping this step here and there, like, it's not really going to help you. And I hope that you don't end up destroying your own reputation, your own, integrity, reputation, because reputation is one of those invaluable things. Like, if it's gone, it's really difficult to get it back, because people talk, right? Just like if you heard about somebody doing a bad job, or like somebody getting caught, giving like the wrong piece of work, or like trying to skim work, trying to get other people to solve their stuff, like, it's not good, right? Like, even you would talk about it, like, you or maybe talk about it with your colleague, or you will actually form a judgment or an impression of that person. So why would you want somebody to form that impression on you, right? That is actually, to me, the heart and soul of personal branding. Whatever that you guys are seeing like personal branding online, and I don't want to be very critical about social media marketers, because the concept of personal branding online is very, very diverse depending on who you ask and who you talk to. But what I will say is that my concept of personal branding, it's professional reputation. Personal branding equals professional reputation. And you are hearing it from me, who is a former corporate leader, business leader, and I have led teams and worked with teams from over 43 countries. And I've also worked with multiple business CEOs. So my definition, and the definition that I teach my clients, whether it's one-on-one or in my online course, when I teach Get Visible with Personal Branding, that is all about professional reputation. There is no rah-rah stuff that we do that is short-term benefits, quote unquote benefits, but destroys your long-term career. Like, we don't do any of that, because that is not sustainable. That is probably something that can actually destroy your reputation, and anything that can destroy your professional reputation, I don't think is actually worth it. But I leave it to you to really think about, how you see your career, and how do you want other people to see you as a professional. That is really the most important question. Okay? So, thank you so much for joining me live today. And if you've missed any of the previous live stream episodes, you can definitely check out the replays on my YouTube channel or my Spotify podcast. Just search for me, Ping. I'm sure that I will pop up. And if you want to join the remaining live sessions this month, I go live every single day this May at 9 o'clock, Malaysia, Singapore, and Hong Kong time. So you can definitely join me on LinkedIn, Facebook, or YouTube. Or if you miss any of the early episodes, you can always check out the replay. So in the past about 20 days or so of live streams, I've talked about multiple different things. I've talked about career mindset. I've talked about interview mistakes. I've talked about salary negotiation. I've also talked about the difference between working hard and working smart. I've also talked about how can you realistically achieve work-life balance, and a lot more very interesting topics. If you are somebody who is working in the 9 to 5 corporate world, I'm sure that you'll find a lot of value in the live streams and a lot of other free content that I share every single day across my social media platforms. So thank you so much for listening. And I think there are a couple of questions from the live audience today. So probably I'll pick a few and answer your questions here. But hopefully I'll be able to see you guys in the live stream tomorrow as well. Hi, Brandon. Thanks so much for joining, and good to hear you finding some insightful pointers from today's talk. All right. So I have a really long question here, and we'll see what we can do about this one. So the question states, I came across a fake job recruiter with apparently more than 500 connections on LinkedIn. The company the recruiter was associated with could not verify the recruiter, with an increase in job scams and false career advices. Maybe you can mention how your viewers can protect themselves against false advice and false recruiters. What external help is available? Is it something that individuals cannot solve themselves? Now, this is a very long question, but the answer actually is very simple. Who are you getting advice from? It's very simple. Who are you getting advice from? And especially on LinkedIn, you will be able to look at the credentials, you will be able to look at the companies, you will be able to look at the career experiences. But at the end of the day, it's really up to you to decide if you trust the person or you don't trust the person. Now, I can give you a very simple example of maybe my personal experience and how clients find me and how clients choose to work with me. And these are things that my clients tell me in one-on-one sessions, and these are things that also my students in my current course tell me when they fill up the intake form. Now, what is the process of a 9 to 5 professional when looking for advice? Most of the time, you guys either go to Google, you go to YouTube, maybe on LinkedIn, maybe you go to some multiple podcasts and so forth. So before you commit to any of that, right, there are multiple things that you can do to check. Now, at the end of the day, right, you are basically checking the credibility of the coach, the mentor, the trainer, basically whoever that's giving the advice, right? So the credibility is really what you're looking for. Now, few things that you can look at. First, you can always look at the background. Like a lot of my clients come to me and say, "Hey, maybe I really like that you actually have actual working experiences in corporate. You are somebody very senior. I want to learn from you. I saw that you've been with all these companies, and I really like that experience." Now, that is something that you can check in the background. But of course, you may be a bit more cautious, and you may also want to see, aside from the job title, how descriptive is the coach in terms of their working experiences. And why I'm so specific about this is because I have also seen people who oversell their qualification. They haven't really done anything, but like, whoa, the LinkedIn looks, whoa, like they can do everything. So at the end of the day, like really read through, just look at the working experience, look at the job titles. Does it sound make sense to you? Does that person's career journey looks plausible? I think that's a judgment that you can make. The second thing you can look at is you can look at testimonials. Now, if a coach, a mentor, or a trainer or a recruiter is fake, probably you would not be able to find testimonials. Or even if you can find testimonials, maybe the testimonials are very vague, meaning that it's not descriptive, right? It's just, okay, this person is a great person. It's like, okay, not sure. So either the testimonials are very vague, or the second thing is that you can't actually validate the person who is giving the testimonial. Now, I'm going to relate back to my situation. If you go to my LinkedIn profile and if you bother to scroll to the end of my LinkedIn profile, you will notice that I have more than 200 plus testimonials, right? And to me, that is a great validation, because particularly testimonials on LinkedIn actually is really great, because you can actually go down and actually look at the actual person who gave the testimonial, the recommendation, click into their profile, look and figure out if they're a real person. Now, at the end of the day, right, the volume may matter too. So for example, if I have more than 200 testimonials on my, and recommendations on my LinkedIn, what are the chances that all 200 plus are fake? Very unlikely, seriously, right? But if you see maybe one or two and it's very vague, you click into the person who's giving the testimonials profile, can't even find anything information, then, well, maybe that is a red flag. I'm not saying 100% because a lot of people don't update their LinkedIn profile, but what I'm saying is maybe, maybe. And the third way to figure it out is through content. So at the end of the day, what I notice is that now I want to be very factual here. And I think that on social media, there are actually a lot of people who take other people's content, take content from YouTube or take content from Google and present it as their own. I've seen that a lot. I've seen a lot of plagiarism, copywriting. I mean, copyright is a really, really big problem, right? And there are also people plagiarize my content, which is really annoying. But The point I'm trying to make here is look at the person's content. How consistent are the career advice that this person is giving? Is it consistent? Does it change all the time? Or you can't even find any single thing that the person is saying? Because if you can't find any content, then that lacks a lot of credibility. Would you agree? Because for me, when a lot of like my clients and students come to me, most of the time they tell me that, hey, maybe I've been following you on LinkedIn for a very long time. I like a lot of your posts. Or they will say that, hey, I've been listening to your podcast on Spotify or YouTube for a long time. I like this episode, that episode. You said this, you said that. And I really like ABCDE, the stuff that I said. So, you know, like nowadays, like, we shouldn't treat like people as uneducated or stupid. I think that there are actually many ways that you can do research, and I think that if there are fake recruiters and like I don't know, fake career mentors or fake career advisors, then my personal view, good luck to them, because I think nowadays people are really smart, and I think that if you really have a lot of value to give, then like I said, there are multiple things that you like. For me, I make sure that my profile is very clear in terms of like my actual working experiences, the companies that I worked with, what did I do there, my connections. I make sure that my testimonials, my recommendations are very detailed on LinkedIn. It's also on my website. And I also make sure that I create content every single day, even though there are some very annoying people who plagiarize, but I make sure that I say what I want to say. And that's what I believe as the right advice. So that was a very long-winded answer to your question, but I hope that that actually helps clarify, because at the end of the day, a fake recruiter, a fake career advisor, fake career mentor, like the things will not be consistent, because like the the art of copying, anyway, I'm not even going to get there, but my point is that if the person is legit, you should be able to find tons of evidence to show credibility. Like for me, if you want, I have my Standard Chart business card. I can name the colleagues that I worked with at Visa, Standard Chart, or wherever else, like EY or anything. Testimonials, I have so many, clients. The clients who write me recommendations are just a very small portion of the clients that I've actually worked with. And I have like a bunch more that I have not had time to post, and so many other things. And with content, I have content on LinkedIn, I have content on Instagram, I have content on TikTok, I have content on YouTube, Spotify, I have a career blog, I do multiple events. Like there are multiple evidences. So I think that if you feel unsure, spend a bit more time to research, and I think you will never regret the decision, because at the end of the day, I respect that the money that you earn is hard earned. And I also always, for me, I also want to make sure that the clients who invest in me or invest in my programs or invest in my courses, they get the best value possible, because that's the best that I can teach them, and that's the best that I can help them through my one-on-one sessions or through a course, because I make sure to package everything in the best way possible. And I hope that if you are somebody who's thinking about working with me and you want to learn more about me, please feel free to check out my profile, recommendations, testimonials, my courses, my free content, and so forth. And I also hope that you find a lot of value should you choose to work with me to help you grow your career. So with that, thank you so much for joining today. I've talked about two very important things. One is about your career journey, and second thing is really how do you identify a legit career coach. So with that, I wish you guys all the best, and I hope to see you in our live stream tomorrow. Bye.